A good day to you all, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here. Allow me to firstly welcome our speakers that we have today, my fellow students and colleagues, our esteemed adjudicators, the SAYWHAT leadership, our valued partners, and to all our viewers that are joining us live on Facebook. It is such a great honor to welcome you to the 2025 edition of the SASI debate, the Speak and Solve initiative. This is a platform where young minds have come to engage in structured, solution-oriented dialogues using the British parliamentary debate format, a style that encourages critical thinking, respectful argumentation, and policy-driven proposals. Ladies and gentlemen, this year's theme, Know and Act, Students Leading Equity and Change, has reminded us that through this debate, we are not only going to be sharing ideas, but we're looking forward to shaping the future of gender equity, health, and education in Zimbabwe and beyond. So we're all excited to see the speakers present this. Tomorrow, we will also be commemorating the World Youth Skills Day, a moment which we feel is specially aligning with what this challenge represents. It is going to be an important celebration of the skills that are being built here, the skills that will define our leadership in years to come. Allow me to also say that we are thrilled to see 16 universities represented in this year's debate challenge. And just as the quiz challenge, we have grown from 12 institutions to 16 today. This growth stands as a testament to the increasing relevance and impact of student-led advocacy. I would also like to say, as young people, we're looking forward to greater growth in this area by introducing and bringing on board other tertiary institutions across the entire country. And this will also include teacher training institutions such as my own, Hillside Teachers College, as part of this transformative journey. Allow me to say to our partners, Nyarazo Group and Sawira Events and Lifestyle, we extend our heartfelt gratitude. You have not only made this possible, but you have also brought an adventurous twist and made camping at Rujeko just amazing. I'd like to also say that many of the speakers here present are excited to camp here. We've also had the opportunity not only to just come together, but to also create memories that go far beyond the debate floor. To Akelo Learning, thank you so much for investing into the future of education and for believing in the power of student voices. And now, to all the debaters, this is your platform. Own it. Speak with clarity. Argue with purpose. And to the debate master, listen with empathy. And above all, to everyone here, to all my speakers, please take note that what you say here matters not just to your peers, but also to the nation watching. With that, allow me to take the honor to officially declare the 2025 SASI Debate Challenge open. Let the debate begin, let the ideas flow, and let change continue. Thank you.
And we're back. I think we should all have another round of applause for the absolutely sonorous words by Ms. Musabayane. Absolutely. Wow. Truly. Truly. This is time for students who are leading both in equity and change to rise up as revolutionaries and change makers within their diverse spheres of influence. Whether you're in agriculture, medicine, or even in the legal field, it is time for the youth to take over. That being said, I'm joined by quite the change makers themselves, who've traveled from far and wide all across the continent and all across the country to come here for one purpose and one reason, to stand their ground in terms of youth-led advocacy. So, I would like to understand just a few introductions from them, who they are and where they're from. So, podium 1, may you please introduce yourself?
My name is Prince Ngube from Gwanda State University.
I am Kudzaishi Shakata from Gwanda State University.
That's amazing. You have any expectations for today's debate? Do you intend to win?
We expect to bring about change, to voice out our opinions, and hopefully to reach a greater audience, the nation, and hopefully international viewing. Thank you.
Very true. Thank you very much. Should I say honorable student, honorable speaker? So how about you on podium 2? Who am I having the lovely pleasure of speaking with today?
I am Dr. Snomusa Chirango from Catholic University of Zimbabwe.
And I am Gift Konyese from Catholic University.
Wow, isn't this the first time you're attending this event?
Oh yes, so happy to be here for the first time.
Really, I've heard quite the stories about your school.
Oh yes.
I hear you win a lot of debates. Are you going to prove that today?
We'll try our best.
Great. And on podium number 3, who do I have the honor of being with today?
Well, greetings everyone. My name is Dorcas Makanganise from Great Zimbabwe University.
Greetings, Tafazo Marawanyika from Great Zimbabwe University.
Wow, so since you're from Great Zimbabwe, I hope that your performance is also as great as your school, hey?
Quite certainly.
Great. And on podium number 4, who do we have?
Greetings, everyone. My name is Pamela Moyo from Harare Institute of Technology.
Compliments of the day. My name is Tafaz Gozinzo from the Harare Institute of Technology.
Oh, wow, it is an absolute pleasure to have you here. We hope that you're good at picking out technicalities, truly. When it comes to this argumentation, we can clearly see that we have quite the caliber of individuals. So, now, further doubt, I just want us to get into the rules and regulations that will be governing this debate. Understand when it comes to your point of information, you'll merely have to raise your hand and say point of information. However, please ensure that your POI is merely 15 seconds long. I hope that you also know that you only have 4 minutes of speaking time. Do use it wisely, do not overrun and do not underrun. Use it critically to provide the necessary argumentation that you desire. And at this point, I am glad to say that things are about to get quite real. Are you feeling the pressure? Are you feeling the pressure, podium 3?
No.
No pressure. I guess things are about to get real. It's time for us to seal the deal. And now, before we commence this debate, the motion reads as follows. This House would mandate student-led oversight committees with disciplinary authority to monitor the implementation of anti-sexual harassment policies in tertiary institutions. I shall read the motion once more. This House would mandate student-led oversight committees with disciplinary authority to monitor the implementation of anti-sexual harassment policies in tertiary institutions. You are no longer students, ladies and gentlemen. You are now honorable speakers. May the Prime Minister come forward and make their case.
This House would mandate student-led oversight committees with disciplinary authority to monitor the implementation of anti-sexual harassment policies in tertiary institutions. As the opening government would like to affirm this position, but before we do that, I would like to define some of the key terms. By mandate, we mean give power to carry out a law or institutional policy. And these student-led oversight committees, these are organizations that are made up of students, governed by students, managed by students, and we would like to say elected by students. The disciplinary authorities, disciplinary measures, these include suspensions, expulsions, and legal actions. Anti-sexual harassment policies, these can include the model and benchmarking policy, which was introduced by the Zimbabwean government in June 2025. Tertiary institutions can include universities, polytechnics, colleges. So in short, our motion wants to give university students real power to carry out expulsions, suspensions, legal actions to students who violate sexual harassment policies. Our parameters are these tertiary institutions, and our stakeholders are these students who are giving real power. And these students, they are elected by their peers, which means these are in trusted positions, and students can feel safe reporting to them any cases of sexual harassment. Students are the most victimized groups of sexual harassment on campus, be it by other students, be it by people in positions of authority. So we need to give students a voice where they can report knowing that they will be heard. Why should we give the students this power? This benefits the victims. It provides visible support to victims, and it includes broader inclusion of marginalized voices and survivors of sexual harassment. It encourages peer-to-peer accountability, and it promotes comfort as students report to their peers, knowing that their voices will be heard. It benefits the school as enough justice will promote a good reputation to the school, encouraging enrollments and a better reputation. It shifts the school from silence to empowerment and promotes zero tolerance to sexual harassment. Proper justice checks must exist in these institutions because as of right now, we have these organizations, like for example, SAYWHAT. These organizations, they are very open to hearing cases of sexual harassment, but they unfortunately don't have enough power to enforce some of these laws. So by giving this power to the students, we're actually creating a more progressive policy that creates an environment of zero tolerance for sexual harassment. And by that, I think as the opening government would like to, thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. As the great Edwin Burke once said, the only thing left for evil to pervade is for good men to sit there and do nothing. However, we're here to not just see, but do more, as students who are leading both in equity and change. Now I'll ask the leader of the opposition to come forward and provide us with their case and argument.
Today we face a critical juncture in our history where the choices we make will define the future of generations to come. As the elected member of the House, I stand before you today not only to represent my country, but to uphold the values and aspirations of the people we serve. We, as today's opposition, have structured our case as follows. The motion reads, the House would mandate student-led oversight committees with disciplinary authority to monitor the implementation of anti-sexual harassment policies in tertiary institutions. Most of the key terms were defined by the leader of the government, But also, I would want to say a few things about what he said. I beg to differ with what the leader of the government was saying. Students are too young to make decisions, but also they're old enough to report to the police. This motion is biased. The students simply elect their friends and the favored ones, which means if we mandate the student-led oversight committees with disciplinary authority to monitor the implementation of anti-sexual harassment policies in tertiary institutions, it will not help because the students will simply elect their friends and favored ones. And obviously, the friends and the elected ones will support them in everything they do. Also, young people are easily manipulated. So we cannot say young people are supposed to lead other young people. We are saying the government must do something on this and not make the young people lead other young people. We need elders, such as lecturers, and especially lecturers, to guide students on campuses. Also, it does not stop sexual harassment, it actually promotes it, because the sexual harassment is happening in between the students, and if the students are supposed to solve that, obviously they will not solve it, but rather they will promote it. Last but not least, I feel like the government must not put the youth to lead other youth, but they must put elders because the youth fear the elders. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. I will now call forth the Deputy Prime Minister of the opening government to provide their substantial argument. Please come forward.
Okay, so panel, what we get from side opposition is that youth should be in a position where they fear. They should report to adults because they fear adults rather than they fear youth. Panel, as a generation of today, what we need is not fear. Panel, we need transformation, inclusion, and protection. And this is why, panel, as a delegation of the opening government, we are here stating that we want student-led committees to be overseeing anti-sexual harassment policies, to be overseeing disciplinary action panel, so that we can actually have the proper implementation of anti-sexual harassment policies in tertiary institutions. Now, panel, the leader of opposition came here and they talked about that youth can easily be manipulated. Panel, education is not manipulation. Students are being taught in schools. Let us take it law students panel. They are being taught on how to analyze evidence, on how to handle legal cases. Let us take it engineers panel in tertiary institutions. They are being taught on problem-solving panel. So panel, if they're saying that they are easily manipulated, they didn't even define what they mean by manipulation panel. And we are taking it as the government that youth can easily be educated on panel. This is why we're saying that their point does not hold water in this debating session, because we're seeing that youth can actually be educated to lead and to handle legal cases. Now, panel, they came here and say that it promotes sexual harassment. Panel, I do not see how a group of students, is helping other students get over sexual harassment, taking justice by expulsion of a teacher who harassed a student. I do not see how that is promoting sexual harassment. Otherwise, I see it as is actually eradicating sexual harassment panel. And this is why we're saying that their point actually does not deserve to be in this debating session panel. And they actually came here and they stated that, and she talked about how young people are young enough not to handle legal cases, but they're old enough to report to the police panel. Panel, the last time I checked, the Institution of Zimbabwe says whoever is above 18 years of age identifies as an adult. Panel. And panel, if we look at it in universities, most students go to universities when they're above 18 years of age. Most students in polytechnic institutions, they are above 18 years of age. Well, I acknowledge that there might be special cases of students who are 14 or 17 years going into tertiary institutions. Panel, we see to it that the people they are above 18, they identify as adults. And the moment you're adults, panel, what greater responsibility is there than for you to actually be in support and helping and using the responsibility of passing on justice. Panel. And panel, we actually see to it that we need inclusion, like I said, panel. And if we take a look at our points that were mentioned by my first speaker, they all lead to the central points that students are the most victimized group in sexual harassment in the school campuses. Hence, by giving them power, we give them enough justice to speak out. We have given them enough justice, panel. What greater justice could be there than to give students power? As we talked about how this will actually benefit the victims by visible support for the victims and broader inclusion of marginalized voices and encourage peer-to-peer accountability. And with this, I rest my case.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, for your highly powerful and valued contribution. We will now move on to the Deputy Leader of the Opposition. Let's see if they can add some fire to this debate. Please come forward.
Good day, members of the House. Pleased to be a part of this debate. I, as the Deputy Leader of the opposing council, I will talk about why we say students are too young to make decisions. They are just coming from their teenage years and they make decisions over emotions. They are not yet emotionally intelligent. So it is not the right decision to make them lead other youths. It's like a blind person leading a blind person, with all due respect. It is biased, to be honest, because friends would support other friends, especially young friends. It is not right. But we should recruit external parties that are highly educated and highly knowledgeable about how to deal with sexual harassment issues, unlike youths who have experienced it and are looking for help. Just a second, I'll come to you. They really need external parties to help them with coming up with solutions and ways to resolve this. Yes, you can bring up your point of view.
Sir, may you please account for the fact that students are taught problem solving in all programs of learning in tertiary institutions?
Problem solving, and there are different problems. Those are educational, but these ones are emotional. They affect them internally, mentally, and they don't learn that in schools. That comes to my next point. The youth, rather than being given the power, they should be educated about mental health and how to report properly, instead of this policy that was brought up. And in conclusion, I urge each member of this House to join me and support this initiative. Together we can create a change in our nation. So ladies and gentlemen, for all these reasons, the motion must fall. Really, it must. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I can at least personally attest to how I am so full from this entire debate. But there are probably a few people starving back home. The only food that I require is knowledge. But you and everyone back at home can actually go and grab a snack because we're going on a quick, short commercial break. Don't go far. We'll be back just now on the SASI Debate Challenge, the 8th edition. I am your debate master, Master Jumbe. See you right after the break. And we are back at the 8th edition of the SASI Debate Challenge. You're probably asking yourself, why, Menashe, you keep on saying SASI. What does that even stand for? Speak and Solve Initiative. Because that's how we believe we're going to move in the world and globally by improving the way that we articulate ourselves as well as the ideas that we have to change the world. Well, I could keep on talking about ideas, but I think we have a member of government that would like to contribute his ideas towards this panel. So, member of government, may you please come forward and proffer your ideologies.
So, panel, the Honorable Prime Minister of our government came and gave a characterization of the debate, hedged mostly on definitions, and we agree with him mostly on those points. However, we feel that this is lackluster in that it doesn't further characterize the debate, and that's the reason why it gave a weak foundation for the opening up. We'd like to further progress or develop on that characterization by saying that it is insufficient to talk about this topic without acknowledging that these sexual harassment issues in tertiary institutions predominantly affects women. We are talking about a status quo where we find that 1/3, 1 in 3 women, according to some statistics by the UN and several NGOs, have experienced sexual harassment at tertiary institutions. We are talking about a status quo where the economic environment is certainly poised to push and to sort of make vulnerable women and especially students who are at institutions. In such a status quo, that is where our debate is unfolding. And to this, the opening government came and gave us a case based on proffering justice. And the opening opposition to this came and gave a case that's based on deference to authority. What does this mean? It means that we are supposed to deny the autonomy and agency of the individuals and the students in order for them to defer to authority structures that are there, such as reporting to police and not really being based on them. We feel like this is a weak case, and the reason for that is because institutionalized issues require institutionalized solutions. And besides, we're not saying that if you're going to implement institutionalized solutions like the student-led committees, it's going to mean that they can't report to the police as well. So let's move on to the case that we have to do. We're going to give you a case that is based on an institutional analysis, and we're also going to give you a case based on a stakeholders analysis. The first thing that we would like to say is that we are going to give, this is a policy motion. So our policy is going to be that we're going to ask this student to be voted for because the people who have social capital, the people who are able to engage with the other students and able to get the votes that are needed for them to obtain these positions are people who are likely to be able to interact with people and to be able to have good dynamics and good relationships with people. Once they are voted for, we're going to offer them training. It's not an ad hoc basic. We're not saying that we're just selecting students at random. We're selecting students who've been voted for, who are trusted, and we're going to give them training. Upon giving them training, we're going to make sure that they have independent funding, they have independent resources that can make sure that they're independent from the institutions. And we're going to make sure that these students are able to come and enforce the training that they've received on how sexual harassment affects people at a tertiary level. What does this provide us for? It provides us for our two main points. The first, that it avoids institutional cover-ups. This is the institutional analysis I was talking about when I was saying that in an institutional ecosystem where lecturers are have friends and lecturers know each other, and where the university has an incentive to cover up issues of sexual harassment to protect its image, the institutional cover-ups are removed because these student oversight committees, which have an oversight role, are independent and they can operate by themselves. And this means that the systemic issue of sexual harassment that is in institutions, because when you say systemic, it means that it's not localized to one lecturer, to one bad apple. It's a systemic issue. So by having a systemic solution in the term, or in the way of student oversight committees, we are countering that. And the second thing that we mentioned is also the fact that stakeholders analysis. By stakeholders analysis, we're simply saying, who are the stakeholders here? Who are we doing this for? We're doing it for the students. And the students are the stakeholders. So therefore, by empowering them, by giving them the power and the authority in order to manage this critical issue that's affecting institutions, which are clearly failing, because the institution, the sexual harassment issue is prevailing in the current status quo, as I've characterized it. So there's a social political issues like this require people require these students to receive the training that they would have obtained in order to come back and then impact on the people that they interact with on a daily basis. This also ensures that there are no restraints that are provided. So to summarize our case, we are saying that there are institutional problems. Institutional cover-ups should be avoided, as well as the provision of stakeholder empowerment. Thank you.
Wow, that was quite powerful. But at the end of the day, power is not true until it is challenged. May a member of the opposition come forward to present their case and rebuttal.
Panel, what SAYWHAT government was supposed to do was to give us a proper policy that shows us what they are trying to implement. SAYWHAT opening government failed to do that, and when SAYWHAT closing government tried to do it, they still fell short. First of all, they tried to tell us this whole idea that we need to give students power, but they do not tell us how much power we're giving them. Who is going to have oversight of that power that we're saying? If we're thinking that lecturers themselves cannot wield that power the correct way, how then do we account for students and know that they're using this power the way they're supposed to? But not only that, they try to tell us that the only stakeholders in today's debate are the students. But we don't think that that is true, because what makes a tertiary institution is everyone who is there. We're talking of the students themselves. We're talking even the name of the institution, because I believe when everyone here introduced themselves, they were told to also introduce what institution they are representing. It means that we are also part of that particular system that they tell us is failing. How then do we decide that we want to give students this kind of power? On top of that, they SAYWHAT closing government tries to bring this whole idea that, oh no, the students will be voted for and then trained so they are independent of the institution. But then that is exactly what SAYWHAT opening opposition tells you when they say that we can equally bring external parties to do this oversight. So what then makes their model better than what we were given? We do not see that. But more so, they try to tell us that the whole idea that students want inclusion, they want to be represented, is so true. But again and again, they are told that it's likely that the students who are popular, I put that in quotes, popular amongst their peers, are going to be voted for. And we've seen this with SRC, right? People get voted for. They promise all these things and they do nothing. How then are we going to ensure that this particular group of students does what they promised? But more so, how do we know that they're not going to use their own vendetta? Say a lecturer makes me fail a core module in my learning, right? And my friend comes and says, this person sexually harassed me. How do we know that these students are not going to bring that vendetta into making a decision? Okay, what did opening opposition tell us? They tell us that students who are going to obviously be voted for on favoritism, not on capability. They also talk about how easy it is for students to be manipulated, and we agree with this. But more so, we tell you that we think that students are not only likely to be manipulated, but even if they were not, they do not have enough of the skill and sometimes the discretion that is necessary to try such cases, right? You do not want your sexual harassment case being told to the entire school, because those are sensitive issues, and we think that having either a panel of lecturers or even external people is far better in terms of safeguarding the mental health and the privacy of the students. But also, we think that power dynamics in an institution are already there. We talk of the social classes amongst the students themselves, amongst the lecturers even. And when you now add this and make sometimes students are more powerful than lecturers, and when you are in that person's class, now lecturers cannot grade fairly if they wanted to. Because what if someone complains about me and Pamela was in my class and decides they're going to press certain charges against me? Also, we tell you that students themselves would end up being in danger. Because imagine a lecturer or a student feels like they've been wrongly convicted of an issue to do with sexual reproductive health. Students are an easy target. Lecturers, not so much. But if we're living in a hostel, you can easily have your stuff vandalized. You can easily become a target for bullying, cyberbullying, and so many other stuff. That's why we think that on-side opposition, right, we have a better chance of addressing we have a better chance of addressing students' needs when we do not put all the power in students' hands. We win this debate. Thank you.
I look up in the sky, God is my angel. I look up in the sky, God gonna save me. I've got a vision, so I gotta work on it. Nobody bring me down, so I gotta go, gotta go.
I got a dream, when you know you have a dream.
Work, work, work.
I got a dream, when you know you have a dream.
Work, work, work.
Dream just to see we grinding